Hello, here we are again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are exploring through this series of videos his philosophy, his disillusionism, his nostalgic theory about human suffering. We are now trying to understand, as they happen, some of the things that are going on with the COVID pandemic. We are around mid-November 2020. So we are still in the midst of the global pandemic, and we are going to focus on this and other videos yet to come. This doesn't mean we will post one after the other in a succession. It's just a series of videos that we'll start doing. We'll try to focus on what things we have learned about ourselves through the pandemic. What philosophical, what anthropological lessons are there after this context? So we are going to ask Mookie to start this series for us, and then we'll surely come back to this in different videos in the future.
Well, yes, the idea is what the pandemic has unveiled for us. Yes, it's unveiled about us, not about the pandemic itself, because when you think about the pandemic, there's many lessons I'm sure people are learning, but we're talking, what did we learn? Why? Because for the first and hopefully for the last time in a long time in the history of our planet, the whole population is under the same kind of suffering. Remember, we are disillusionism, nostalgia, that means we're running away from suffering. Having a common suffering for everybody will allow us to learn certain things like you learn with any common denominator. That's really the basis of this. So in this case, we are now I'm now in South America, where the whole pandemic is receding here. It probably has to do with the summer, and my opinion is not just because it's hot, because in Singapore during the winter, during March and April, a very hot country still, it was a disaster. So was in the Emirates. The reason is that we are not inside our homes. You see, in Singapore and in Bahrain and in Dubai, they have air conditioning. So people stayed inside, and that's the reason they got infected, probably. In our case, in South America, what happened is that people were confined to their home the whole winter, summer in the northern hemisphere, and once they could go out, once the whole thing opened, they just stayed out. I mean, people don't want to meet with their family or friends at home. Say, come on, let's have a coffee. I've been at home enough. So this probably is helping in seeing those numbers plummet of the virus, while on the other in the other part of the planet, in the north part of the planet, Europe, United States, where most of our viewers are, it's getting worse because people are more and more congregating inside. But while we were, and that's this issue will be, is what we are now. Let me tell you the news that I want to base on them the story of today. And I was watching in Spain, in Catalonia, the confinement, of course, allowed only essential. This is the main word: essential shops, essential commerce, essential workers to be outside. The rest of the people had to be confined. Yes, so they used the word essential, and there was there a woman who she was a hairdresser or a nail painter, or I don't know, one of those things. I'm not being derogative about it. I just don't know exactly her profession. And she said, "Listen, we are an essential workers. You see, people need to do their nails. They need a haircut. This is a need. This is not something, it's not a luxury. It's not. It is not superficial. It is essential." And here, let us go first to the word essential. What do we mean by essential? There is three ways to look at what is essential. The first one is, of course, the one that the objective one. There is a little bit of objective essentiality, and that has already been posited by Thomas Hobbes, who said anything that you need to stay alive is essential. Yes, you have to be, so eating, sleeping, whatever you need to stay alive, having a medicine that if not you'll die, like insulin for the diabetic, as once I heard you saying, Florencio. So these issues are essential. So there are no arguments about it. Yes, we need them. You need to have to be a pharmacy to get your insulin. You need to have a place where you to find the food. You can even need electricity. Probably, yes, because it's really most of the things. Your refrigerator doesn't work if there is no electricity. You cannot conserve food. There are certain things. They went even until internet, which I disagree. But water in your faucet and the very basic stuff. Beyond that, then there is two kinds of essential. There is the essential to me, yeah? to me personally, to me. I can tell you that for me, it's essential to have internet and to have broadband. No doubt. Without broadband, for me, I cannot watch my videos. Life is very hard. I cannot communicate with people. I need broadband. But that's essential to me. And some people will say essential to me is to go to pray to the church, to the synagogue, or to the mosque. That's essential. Some people think that essential is to have sex. Yes, to have periodically sex. They live alone, and it's essential for them. And some people will say it's essential for them, as the hairdresser said, to paint your nails. But that's a private essential. And there is a middle way. It is the essential to most people, to the majority of people. And why is this important? It is important, first of all, because the state is an illusion. And the guys who run in the state, the guys with the sandwich, they go around with the sandwich, they have what they want. Those politicians in 90% of the countries, they have to be re-elected. Re-elected is re-elected by a majority. Therefore, they will cater to the majority's beliefs on essentiality. And then you have, so what we have is the discussion of what is essential and what is not essential. The discussion of what is essential and what is not essential, we've seen it all over the place all the time. Yes, people say it's essential for me to do sports and it's not good, and we keep hearing that every time they have a lockdown and they start opening a little bit the lockdown and people start shouting, this is essential, this is more important than this. And we can go on and on and on and on about this discussion. First of all, what is your take on this?
What I wanted to say first is you rightly quoted a very materialistic philosopher in Thomas Hobbes. And I think it's easier for us to agree on the essential needs of material life, of physical life. And it's harder to come to terms when it comes to, psychological needs, symbolic needs, spiritual needs. Even mental health issues are harder to pin down. As if we do not eat, we'll die. If we do not drink, we'll die. If we are not shielded from cold in the winter, we'll die. What about entertainment? What about boredom? What about socializing? I think it's harder to define where the line has to be drawn in these aspects. And I think much of the discussions come in this later aspect, not in the material needs, but in the what we would call, I don't know, psychological needs, spiritual needs, social needs. I think it's there that we are seeing all sorts of conflicting points of views. But of course, I agree with what you say. If I'm a provider of theater or piano lessons, I will always think going to the theater and taking piano lessons are essential parts of life. And if I'm catering for a majority of people who think so, I will probably adapt my view to satisfy them. But from a philosophical point of view, I think it's very tricky to get common ground. in this spiritual, symbolic area of need?
Listen, no doubt, the majority of people think that social interaction is essential. Yes, at least because again, it's a question of time. Yes, we're talking. If it's a lockdown, it's 2 weeks is one thing. If the lockdown is 3 months or 7 months, like it was in Argentina, is a totally different thing. How long can you live without personal contact? Of course, you can live with probably until you die. Yes, but how long until you're suffering? And here, this is the main issue. When we're talking about essential, we're talking about only one thing: suffering. You see, in our misalgic view, in our view that the only thing we do is running away from suffering, of course, the degree of suffering will decide how much of this is essential. I'll give you an example. I have a member of my family who is very happy that doesn't have to see anybody. Okay, so there are people. There is the personal view, and of course we say, well, you can talk with them with Zoom. Yes, of course. And before Zoom, because if this would have happened 20 years ago, there wouldn't be Zoom. Yes, you wouldn't even be able to talk with anybody. Maybe Skype. I was the beginning of Skype. You could not even talk unless you spend a huge amount of money on telephone. And I'm talking about families that have been separated for months and months and months and months. People have not seen their grandparents for 7 or 8 months or 10 months. They cannot see them unless they watch Zoom, as long as they have a Zoom. So the degree to which something is essential or essential also has the time, the timeline of that lockdown that will change from one to the next. But I wanted to say that the issue that we really should be speaking about is really the difference between need and want. Okay, essential means need. The rest means superficial means want. Now, what do we do really? How do we operate? When I want something from somebody, let's say I want something from you, not in this case, not from you, Florence, from another person. If I want from that person, I have 2 ways to deal about to try to get it. The first one is to offer something in exchange. Then I don't have to explain why, if it's a want or a need. I don't have to. Here you have. If I go today to the hardware store and I want to buy a huge drill, yes, professional drill. He doesn't ask you, sir, are you a professional? They don't care. I give him money and I get the drill. Okay, that's because I want. Why would you want? I want to have a drill at home. That was always my dream as a child. I finally got the money. I bought myself a professional drill. So I don't have to explain it. But if I need something from somebody who is not, the issue is not money, who I cannot offer something in exchange, I will have to make my case and show them that I need it. Now, again, to get the other person to understand that you need it, either that person needs it also, and then it's very easy. Yes, he needs, I need that. Through empathy, it will be, or he will have to understand my special kind of situation in which I need something. Yes, that probably will happen. But it is the issue here comes. This is when I talk. This is my discourse. Yes, this is me trying to convince. But here we are assuming that I'm trying to trick the guy, tell him that I need something that I only want. No. Most of the cases, we think in our narrative that we need it. Yes, people think I need to go out and walk around for 2 hours or I lose my sanity. I need to have a dog at home to be able to caress. I need, and this is all, and those needs are going up and up and more and more and more. Because if you ask people and go to their their clothes, where their clothes are, the garderobe, where they keep their clothes, they have all of them, of course, includes myself, more clothes than you need. He says, why do you have it? Because I want it. If he doesn't feel comfortable, he'll try to make a case about needing. But needs has gone up in exchange for the old wants. Yes, new needs are the results of an upgraded want. Do you agree?
Yes, but I have a question. we have in previous videos discussed special kinds of suffering that I think now come into play. For instance, we've discussed, and I think there's a whole video on it, boredom. And going back to that topic, I think one could claim that you need entertainment. You need something to alleviate boredom, even if it's not essential in the physical, in the physiological sense. Maybe you need entertainment. And then there's this other kind of special suffering we have also discussed, which is guilty feelings that can be very painful. And in this sense, I understand that something of what you are now saying plays a part. Because not when it comes to convince you that I need something, but when, as you say in the narrative, I'm talking to myself. Well, it's easier to indulge in getting something I need than indulging in getting something I just merely want. Guilty feelings in this later case may come to haunt me. Whereas in the previous one, if it's a need I'm fulfilling, then I guess I might be free of guilt after doing whatever I have to do to achieve it. So maybe in these special areas of suffering, which is not physical pain, hunger, cold, shame, but boredom and guilt, we have clues to understand parts of what's going on.
Well, boredom is probably something that empathy will play very little part in it. Somebody says, "I'm bored. I need to watch football." They say, "Watch something else." I mean, nobody. It's going to be very hard to sell. Guilt is another story, but guilt takes me to another issue, which is a macro issue. You see, the whole economy is based not on needs but on wants. An economy that is based on needs, it's a very Spartan economy, quite Spartan, even if the needs, even with the new needs, yes, even with the new kind of needs, even with them, we're talking about a Spartan economy. What I mean Spartan economy, I mean 40% of the people are out of work. Why? Because I will read you in a moment a list on which the whole economy depends, and it's all of them want, all of them. I'll give you an example: vacation, aesthetics, going to the gym, clothes outside of pajamas, yes, or underwear, perfumes, jewelry, shows, events, parties, gastronomy, eating out, yes, in the place, religious ceremonies, protocols, automobiles, etc., 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 etc. All these are about 40% of the economy, maybe more, depending on the economies. There are some economies which are a bigger part, a bigger slice, and others that are smaller. But this, and if we continue to ask, what do you need? The want part is not going to happen. If it's not going to happen, these people are out of a job. Now, what will happen? One day, this pandemic will go away, Florence. This will end. One way or another. If it not will be the vaccines, there will be a remedy. They will end. Once that will end, the question is, how much of those wants that used to keep the economy running, in which I had 10 times more pants than I need, yes, and say a woman is buying herself the third ring with the diamond, or even the first one, yes, how much of this economy will survive? And the answer is, I don't know, but many of us have learned, and here we're talking about unveiling what pandemic that taught us is what is essential to us, to each one of us. And here, it's not about majorities, it's about you. And I know that I definitely do not need to have a smoking or to buy a new car. The list is, again, it's the list I gave here. And again, I'm not saying all of these things are going to die. No, I'm saying these are parts of the things of the economy, which of course, as us, as disillusionists, means nothing. Means that, but these people will have to find a new job. I'll tell you a story. One of my member of my family, without mention who, decided we're in Buenos Aires to buy herself, this is a woman, a new handbag, She went around Buenos Aires and she couldn't find a shop that sold handbags. There were 10 of them. They were closed not because the people were stuck at home and they could not go to buy the handbags. Those shops were open quite soon after shops started opening. That many months ago. It's because people don't buy handbags when you don't need a handbag. They learn to live with what they need. And let me remind you that the economy is not doing that well, so people will be on a saving mood. This we spoke already once. But basically, the need and the want, the balance between them has shifted. And as a disillusionist, I'm saying we are going to go into a new habits, and those habits will be behind our sleepwalk. We sleepwalked all the way before the pandemic. Then came the pandemic, and we had to change all our habits, all our sleepwalk. Now, let's say things are being solved. We're not going back to where we were. First, because, as I told you, part of the economy does not exist anymore. And second is because we learned certain things, and our habits are different. And once those habits are different, it's finished. If women decided that buying a handbag is not anymore something to do when you're nervous or when you're depressed or when you just have a whim, there will be there may be some shops. I'm not saying handbags are going to disappear, but this is the issue. So essentiality is the way we live. Essentiality will impact our life for a very long time. Do you agree?
I do, and I also think we'll have other opportunities to discuss this as things continue developing. We'll come back to this soon.
Well, we will come back to other things that were unveiled, as you said
at
the beginning. Not immediately, not every week, but once in a while we'll bring other stuff that were unveiled by this pandemic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.